Welcome to Roots and Roofs, where we explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship in the real estate world. I am your host, Mackenzie Shelton. Join us as we dive into the unique journey of balancing family life with owning a thriving real estate business. Each episode, we will uncover inspiring stories, practical tips, mindset conversations, and expert insights from others who are carving their paths in the real estate industry. Whether you are a seasoned realtor, a prospective buyer, or simply curious about the dynamics of managing both home and career, Roots and Roofs is your go-to podcast for heartfelt discussions and invaluable advice. Tune in and discover how these incredible women are building deep roots from the ground up while nurturing their families under the same roof. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Roots and Roofs. I have a really exciting guest with me here today, Francine Bass, and I am actually going to let her take a few minutes to just introduce herself and kind of tell us a little bit about you. So, Francine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Mackenzie. Hi, everybody. My name is Francine, and I am proud parent and advocate of female leaders coming up. I'm passionate about a couple of things: female leadership and mentorship. I'm writing an ebook on mentorship. I'm a 30-year veteran in the real estate industry. I'm very proud to have supported many professionals coming up through my career. And what I found was that was exhilarating for me. That was particularly exhilarating. And I wanted to capture that at this stage of my career and kind of catapult it and really put it into action by starting with an ebook. And along with that, I'm very passionate about advocacy for parents of neurodivergent kids. I think there's a lot of talk right now about the invisible load that parents carry. I am the proud parent of two daughters, one of which is neurodiverse and late diagnosed. And I have a lot of life experience that I'm more than willing to share with other parents embarking on a similar journey. And if I could help others just shave some time off or just let them know that they're not alone, that gives me a lot of joy.
Awesome. I love that. So, you're kind of closing one major chapter and intentionally designing the next. How did you know that it was time to end something rather than kind of push through and rush to, whatever you're going to do next here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really pondered that. I think as I've grown, matured professionally, personally, I've really harnessed instincts and knowing, how to listen to myself. I think the type of profession I'm in, it's never ending, and it's part of who I am, and I'm very proud to have served in the capacity I have, and it offers so much diversity, and it's definitely not over. But what I've learned is that volunteerism, philanthropy is very important, and there is room for that in my life. So I think listening to our intuition, certainly listening to mine, prompted me to think about change and think about, things outside of the structure that I had known, and been more flexible and receiving to new ideas. And before you know it, new ideas come and there you go. And I think we all have so much creativity and tapping into our life experience, meshing it with our professional experience. I know for myself, it helped me as an advocate, as a parent, and certainly as a mentor. So
So, is there anyone or maybe multiple people kind of in your life that prompted you to decide to write this book? Because I'm also in the process of writing a book and
I, I noticed that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's been one of those things where I feel like I was kind of prompted by a lot of people to start this podcast, and then it morphed into people being like, oh my gosh, you should write a book, and I'm sure you've dealt with like imposter syndrome and like who's actually going to listen to me and things like that.
Every
So
day.
Yeah. So were there people in your life that kind of were like, "Hey, you should really, write a book," or how was that process for you?
I think, I think it's taking a different look at what people were saying to me, and really reflecting on the I don't know if this is true for you, Mackenzie, but when I'm a great giver of compliments and very gracious in that regard, and I try to put a lot of intention behind that, not as I don't parallel in receiving, but when I slow down and listen to what people were sharing with me and really reflecting on the impact it looked like I had made on several people through my life, through my career. Um, I was just like, well, maybe there's something to it. And also like selfishly, it's very cathartic. It's extremely, as long as you're not, like in a pressure mode where you have to deliver and it becomes again another thing on your list where it's organic. And I felt like when I had the space to just share my ideas and put them down on paper, I'm like, wow, there is so much to this. And if you're coming from a space of truth, and I know there are many times in my career that things might have taken a different turn or maybe not as been as intense had I had someone like myself to just, share a little bit. But there's a couple of things involved. You have to like to mentor someone, they have to want the desire must be there. But when it is, and you just are meeting that person where they're at, it can really be magical and inspiring to help another person. So to answer your question, I just slowed down and listened more to what people were sharing. Nobody said you should do this. It was something I always had in the back of my mind, but I thought I want to write about my life, or maybe I don't want to do that, or, but this one subject, I'm like, that's it. I can start there.
We we always are in the best place to mentor the people that we needed like 10 years prior. Have you ever heard that
Yeah.
statement? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about your book title and what it is about?
So it's just the title is Being the Mentor You Wish You Had. Be the mentor you wish you had. And what it's inspired by is when you have that nudge to help another human on their path. Or they're reaching out to you with an innocent question, that could be a cue, and listen to it differently. So there's different tips and tricks to kind of like raise a person's awareness to the signals and then what mentorship looks like. It's not guided, it's not coaching, it's not being a friend. It's really providing guidance in whatever area that individual needs, and for something with you is resonating with them. And I think that's a privilege. So if you're inspired by helping others in that capacity, I think you get so much more than you're giving, and we don't realize that. I know for myself, I gravitate towards helping others, but it has helped me too. I've been very fortunate. I've had a beautiful life, a very diverse life, lots of experiences, lots of education, learned professionally, personally, and had I not been helpful to others, I think I would have missed out on some opportunities that helped me learn as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You like
Agreed.
to mentor, Mackenzie?
So I actually have a real estate team.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just ended up being this very natural thing for me to have people that I'm constantly mentoring in some capacity. I've actually now been approached by other real estate agents outside of my team who would like to have some kind of more coaching, aspects. And here's the thing, I have been very fortunate. You kind of mentioned like it's not really coaching, and I 100% agree with you because when you have a really good mentor, whether they are technically in a coaching capacity or something like that, the really, really good ones are not just coaching you on your job, right? They're
Mhm.
coaching to the whole person because
Yeah.
I just don't think that if we're just focused on either our personal life or our professional life or maybe just one tiny aspect of our life, it's not really getting us to that next level or to where we really want to be in life. So, for anybody who's listening, I really believe that in order to get to that next level, you have to have somebody who is almost coaching and mentoring all aspects of your life. And they don't necessarily have to be an expert in all of those things, but they have to
No.
know how to kind of like help you get there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all at the intersection of life, and whatever your life has looked like is going to attract a person to you for whatever reason. So, I think being holistic in your approach is what you described to like, and we are the same person at work as we are at, with family. I used to
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm different at work. No, I'm not. And it's great what you said. I think I that makes sense is looking at the whole person and trying to add value, and
Yes.
for me, um, I can identify, I think the mentorship goes in a couple of different directions for myself. When I see another parent with a need, that they're navigating a diagnosis or they're navigating like all of the plethora of options for their child. Right now, I'm supporting my child through navigating the next steps in her education, and that's a lot, and I found a mentor. She found me. We found each other, and boy, oh boy, has it changed the trajectory of many of my decisions immensely. And for that person, I don't know if she realizes many times that. So this is something else that I recognized was years later, you might have somebody approach you and say, you know what, when you said that, that really changed something for me. And I know what I hold on to and from whom, but people do the same for us. So
Yeah.
our words are powerful, our actions are even more powerful. And, we, at this point, transferring knowledge is a crucial piece to me in everything I do. For those that want it, I'm willing to share it. Otherwise, what good is it? So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right.
we can't be the gatekeeper of all of the, things that we've learned and
No,
there's
but the coming, the mentorship in the workplace, I think that can happen,
yeah.
because we're all, so busy and highly motivated, and there's different degrees of competition. And I think, you go through your path, and, I figure out we can all, achieve and get results. But I think helping others level up and helping others achieve is the greatest path to contributing to one's own success as well.
Yeah. I was in the Keller Williams space for,
Yeah.
10 years.
Okay.
And one of the, big things that they talk about all the time is like, your legacy, right? Like what legacy
Mhm.
are you leaving? And I think, I mean, yes, we're obviously, if we have children, we're leaving a legacy through them, of course. But I look at somebody, I'm very blessed to do some mentorship with John Maxwell and Diana Kokoska. And it's like when you get to hear the two of them talk, like their legacy is like, how many people's lives can I touch, right? Like, and that is so true in a lot of different spaces. And it can just take like one very like insignificant thing to us that we've said to somebody that can help, like you said, maybe change their whole trajectory in what they are doing and their path moving forward. So yeah. Can
Absolutely.
we talk a little bit because you've mentioned having a neurodivergent child and some of that. Can you just kind of explain a little bit about how you're supporting your child through that path and how has motherhood kind of shape the way you think about leadership in that aspect?
Yeah. It's created a greater degree of understanding and compassion. And that came towards myself at first. So
Sure.
you really embracing or letting go of the perfection, letting go of, everything has to be so buttoned up because it never is. And I think, I know I was very, very blessed to be her support and to learn this path together because there were many lessons I needed, to learn and slowing down and accepting imperfection for myself, I think was a big part of that lesson. But the journey of parenting a child with any type of neurodiversity, in our case, it is what it is, and there was a late diagnosis, but um, there is an overwhelming amount of information that the parent is the hub for, and disseminating that information. That parent is the expert, trusting myself as the expert on my daughter and the most trusted advocate. I think accepting that and like, yeah, I have what it takes to do this and do it well. I think, was a very important lesson in advocacy, and also just it's it's there's more things that don't fit than do, and understanding that there's not a one size fits all. They call it a spectrum for a reason, and we all hear that. But it's really learning and understanding your child, and then understanding that supporting your child is a privilege, and I that's how I see it. But wow, at times it can be overwhelming, and there's so many opportunities to support others going through the journey. I know for myself, I move so fast through many of the phases. And right now, it's my encouragement to others is to slow down and look at what you've accomplished. Look at how far and how much your child, well, in some cases, your child has worked. But you supported and you facilitated certain things that happened, for your child that otherwise wouldn't. And that's pretty powerful. So slowing down as a parent, I think has been critical to my path.
Yeah. I love that you brought up imperfection and
Oh
slowing
yeah.
down. It's
Yeah.
no matter what, parenthood, and I feel like especially motherhood, maybe because we put the pressure on ourselves, as I don't know, maybe it's just natural. I feel like every mother I talk to, right? Like we put almost this pressure on ourselves that is innate, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I've really also had to embrace like even not having a neurodivergent child, like being okay with the fact that my house is not going to always be perfect. It's not going to look like, a Pottery Barn magazine,
Yeah.
and and my kids, like they're their own individual people, and I can't always control, what they do or don't do, simple things like throwing a fit in the grocery store, or, not behaving at school, or, whatever it is, right? They're going to make their own decisions, and I just have to do the best to support them in the ways that they need to be supported. So I love that you said that. What do you think has been, just personally for you in that space, what do you think has been like the biggest challenge, or thing that you've had to kind of overcome, as far as like figuring out how to really be supportive of your daughter?
I think, just juggle, like listening, paying attention, trusting my instincts. And there's so many experts in the various environments, and we've had a team of experts that's changed over time. and alliances. And I think it's really trusting your instincts to know if you're in alignment, because it's just not everything is going to fit. And being keenly aware and forgiving yourself if you miss something, So I think trusting your intuition and don't be too hard on yourself if there's something that, maybe didn't go as well as planned, because there's a lot of that. But it's because the kinder you are to yourself, your child, the neurodiverse or not, is going to feel that. And then that
Yeah.
that could, you want them to be kind to themselves. And I think setting an example of that. It's just there's a lot of expert alignment, and just because somebody is deemed an expert doesn't mean they're an expert in for your child.
Oh, that's so true, especially in 2026 in this, we're just inundated with information all the time. And it does become really hard to decipher like who is the person that I should actually be, listening, following, taking advice from.
Right. Right,
Yeah,
right. But
absolutely.
I think we all have the answers. It's giving yourself space and grace to make decisions, and, understand that sometimes the best decision is to not make one.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So then circle
Yeah.
back. Go for a walk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So, for listeners who are carrying invisible loads, whether it's personally, professionally, whatever it is, what's one question that you think they can start asking themselves to kind of help their future move forward?
Right. I think are they recognizing and sharing their needs and open and receptive to support? I, many times as a parent, I've heard and I've encountered myself that isolation nobody will understand. There are so many communities of understanding people, networks, credible networks that are nonprofit based, that you can join and become a part of, and just have that, you can just quietly observe and recognize, like, this isn't just applying to me. Other people are going through this. So I think asking themselves, are they open to help? Are they open to understanding, and support? Because I think the sooner you arrive there, the stronger you can be for yourself first, your child, and whatever you're carrying, your family. You can still have everything. You can have your career and everything. But there are so many resources. It's just a matter of, you know, being open, and I think accepting that you're not alone. The sooner you can get there, it helps. That's what I would
Ugh,
say.
I really love that answer. Um, yes, there are so many times, no matter what the issue is, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I come across people so many times that they kind of just want to sit around and complain and not actually be even just open to like receiving advice from their friends, their family, like whatever it is, and it's like if you're not at that place, then you're not going to be able to grow and learn and actually help support or resolve, whatever you have going on. Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
And
that's so
there's,
true.
that's where some people, are, and that's, you do you, and everybody, the thing is I think for myself, surrounding myself with people that were, contributing to the path that I was on energetically, emotionally, intellectually, all the things. And if that wasn't the case, it didn't make that other person or community or whatever right or wrong. I just was on a path that, like, that wasn't gonna help me get where I needed to go. Um, just didn't help me. So, um, everybody has their own journey and style, and I don't get caught up in the problem. I really want to keep going towards a solution and stay as positive as possible. It's very powerful.
Do you feel, just because I know that you were in, or are you still in the real estate space
Yes,
or yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where like I feel like most real estate agents are problem solvers, right? Like we don't have time to sit around
Right.
and complain about the solution. We usually are the solution in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah.
so do you feel like your professional background has kind of helped you in that journey?
Oh, 1,000%. So I'm not a I mean I am licensed, but I don't practice selling real estate, residential real estate. I'm in the multifamily space, senior living. But I can definitely say, certainly in the advocacy environment for my daughter, my executive skill set completely helped. The degree of organization I approached her life, the different a- areas, medical, all the things, academic, um, all of those skills that you learn, and also, your threshold for your stress tolerance. So understanding like what is a third degree fire, where are we really at in the scheme of things? And I think organizational capacity was a transferable skill that, in any area of my life, I'm very grateful that my profession has probably built that. And then just life and those things combined. Again, that bleeds into mentorship because your perspective has been earned. Your perspective has been earned through many experiences that others haven't had yet. But just that voice of reason, like I promise you, I've seen this before. I've gone through something similar. It's going to be okay. And that degree of confidence, and you can't make it up because you know it will be okay. You can't put a price tag on it.
No, that is absolutely true. Yeah, I feel like even in the space that I'm in, I come across that a lot. I was actually just talking with somebody this morning about, the change in commission structure for
Mhm.
agents that, happened, and how some people were walking around with their hair on fire, thinking that they were, maybe never going to get paid for their services again. And then you had a whole other group of people, like including myself, that was like, hey, like we're going to figure this out. There's no issue here. And I think that there did end up being a pretty big divide between people who were able to continue and maintain their business at a high level with a lot of confidence because they had people mentoring them that were like,
Mhm.
it's okay. Everything is fixable. Everything is solvable. Like we'll find a
Yeah.
way to persevere and, get through this, change. Because really that's all it was. It was just a
It's just another change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so I have one last question for you
Yeah.
because I know we're kind of wrapping down on time here. So, I know you're very passionate about autism advocacy, especially as it intersects with like kind of work in leadership and all those things. So, where do you see the biggest gaps right now for parents and professionals that are navigating this journey?
I think that the crossover between your child getting older. So in the world of supports and the different mechanisms that are in place in the schools, and then as your child ages, the conversation changes. The conversation and the capacity that your child has doesn't always resemble um, what another path might be when they're approaching 18. So I think that when our kids are younger and they are, there's services, there's ABA therapy, there's speech, there's occupational, there's all the different things. There's this template and you're walking through and you're using your playbook. But as your child is getting older, and the options are there, it's the conversation kind of like quiets down a bit. And you just, as a parent, I think it's being more resourceful. But I think something that is interesting to me is I just signed up for a conference. It's supported by Family Cafe, and it's in Florida. And there's other organizations, TACA, there that can help people with that bridge over into adulthood, because it looks different for all of our kids. And my particular child, becoming an expert in what will help her, but it's not the same for all children that are her age, that are on a similar journey. So I think as the child is getting older, that's an important spot, particularly from high school out. They call it like a cliff. It's like the support cliff, and it doesn't need to be. I think it's just about planning, preparation. Again, my profession has helped me to look forward, and plan. And again, having the right people to talk through things, and make the best choices for your child. It can all be done. It looks a little different as they're getting older.
Yeah, my cousin is actually nonverbal,
Okay.
and is an adult and still lives at home. And I know that was always one of my cousin, his mother, her biggest concerns was like, what happens when he's an adult, right? And she absolutely had to, go out and kind of advocate for certain services for him, and continuing care while her and her husband were working, and all of these things that I think sometimes if people are not problem solvers like we discussed,
Mhm.
they kind of almost want to throw their hands up and say like, well, there's nothing out there for me. But it is taking a lot of initiative to go out and find those resources, because from what my cousin has told me, I mean, they are out there. You just might have to take different avenues than you have when your child was younger. So yeah.
Yeah, and if anything stirs up strength, resiliency, motivation, drive, it's our children.
Yeah.
And that can tap into an inner strength. I know it did for me. Like, I've grown through this, and like wanting to help others and having experiences where it's like, whoa, that person wanted my advice. I'm becoming, like, a subject matter expert strictly through life experience. So
Yeah.
it's but that drive is churned through, being a parent.
Hmm.
And there's nothing more rewarding. Just being a parent in general, I think. But
Yeah.
all of our paths are different. So I think that that's what I would say is, as they get older, I think that's just an interesting conversation that needs to be a little louder.
Sure, absolutely. I agree 100%. So I want to thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on today.
thank you.
For any of our listeners, I am going to share her socials and any links that she would like to share, just so you can go and find her book when it is out and ready. Yeah, thank you, Francine, so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mackenzie. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to Roots and Roofs podcast today. If you loved today's episode, please let me know. I love hearing from you on Instagram and Facebook, so feel free to send me a DM or tag me in your stories so I can share it too. If you're looking for more information about today's topic, please visit my website, mahoganyacres.com, and all of the information that is listed in the show notes below. Until next time.